And how are you all out there in real estate land? It's 2025. It's a brand new year. Brendan Cunningham, the real estate doctor for EXP, with me today, giving you the real story. Our partner in crime here, not so much crime, but good stuff, Matt Paul. He does it all, Matt Paul. So what do you want to talk about today? What do you got for me?
So, Brendan, I'm thinking that we should bring a little value to people, homeowners, and people that are in the Northeast or in areas that have some winter time, issues or potential issues.
Sounds good to me.
All right, great.
Well, take it away.
So, I just actually had an experience at my own investment property where a boiler that was a steam boiler turned the steam into water and then started circulating water through the radiators, which is not supposed to happen. And that could have been prevented by just consistent maintenance on it. So I had gone 2 years without maintaining it, and I think that was the issue. So it was on me, but I think anybody who has a furnace, a boiler system, whether it's a steam boiler or water, you should have it serviced at least once a year.
And you know what? If you service them at least once a year, you will get such tremendous life out of them.
Yeah.
Can I tell a story?
Please do.
Okay. I sold a house in, let me think now, it was early 2000s, 2004 or so. And it was a historical house, probably 160 years old. It was a featured house in the Buffalo News. We got a 3-page article on it. And I made sure that when it came time to sell it, everything had been taken care of mechanically. Had new hot water heaters, dishwashers, all that stuff. And I restored the house as best I could. It wasn't a pure restoration because I had to do some doctoring, like I put a modern kitchen in. Okay, so fine. But it was a beautiful kitchen. But the one thing I did not change was the boiler. And the boiler was 29 years old. It had been serviced by one of the local plumbers in West Falls, which is a suburb of Orchard Park, where the Buffalo Bills are going to be playing in the Super Bowl, going to the Super Bowl. And I had all the records, and it was a 4-zone boiler system. Was wonderful. When I went to sell the house, I had a warranty on the property as well as doing a pre-inspection. Okay,
Smart.
It's so smart to do, but most people don't do it because, well, those things cost money, and it came out of my nickel. But I want to make sure the house was, here's the term, market ready. And when the market wasn't quite as fast, as furious as it is now, I got an offer on the property, and they offered me $10,000 less than the asking price. And I said, oh. And then they said, and the reason why is because as much as the house is in perfect condition, the boiler is older and it's going to need to be replaced. So I said, let me stop you right there. I said, first of all, you'll notice I had a pre-inspection on the property. This is not only not a flag item. They said it was in terrific shape. Here are all the records from Douglas Plumbing each year that I've had it serviced. These things can last pretty much forever. Douglas said, yeah, you do these things right, you should get 40, 45 years out of them. At any rate, I had the warranty on it. I said, and if anything happens to the system, it's going to get addressed because the warranty takes place from the day you close and goes for a year when most problems happen. They said, oh, okay, never mind. Made the objection go away. Okay, now, a boiler runs around 5,000. Okay, these guys were discounting 10,000. Where are you coming up with these numbers? But the point is, you do have to maintain your properties, and there's ways that and certain things make more sense than others. But boilers, man, I love a boiler system.
Yep.
I especially love a steam system. It's old-fashioned, but boy, that's a wonderful, nice, even heat.
And a little noisy,
But it's part of the old house.
Yep.
And the hot water heat is also nice and even. There's a trade-off because it's harder to do because you don't have the duct work. So that's a separate issue. But 99% of the houses they're building today are forced hot air.
Yeah. Yeah, the boilers are a little bit,
a little more complicated.
Yeah.
So there's more moving parts.
But there are, from my HVAC guys said, you can interchange the parts. Almost, the whole entire unit can be replaced. So it should last forever as long as you're maintaining it and then addressing issues as they come up. It'll last. And I, piggybacking off of your story, I had a house that I sold in 2015 that had a boiler from the 60s. So that's 60 years old. I also included a warranty on the house just for peace of mind to the buyer. And the buyer ended up being my HVAC guy. So he ended up swapping it out anyways. But yeah, the having a warranty to back up any type of older system is always a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want it to be specifically talking about warranties, but I think warranties are also the best thing since sliced bread.
Absolutely.
They're kind of a West Coast idea, not so much an East Coast idea in terms of usage, but I always have warranties on all my properties. It's the cost of doing business, and it's a smart way to do business.
And typically, you know, so they come in 1 year increments. And I mean, it's almost Murphy's Law that if something's going to happen, it happens in the first year.
First year. I guarantee it's going to happen the first year.
Yep, I've had it happen to me several times. So this is Murphy's Law.
And typically when it happens, I mean, it's going to be something like a hot water heater on a Saturday night of 4th of July weekend.
Exactly.
You're not getting anybody. Okay. And that's just the way it works. I mean, I recently had a basement flood, and was not through any error of myself. It was just what happened. Of course, Saturday night, holidays, you're killing me.
Yep.
That's part of the deal.
Hard to get help at that point.
Hard to get help with that. Now, on another note, this fits in very well with the conversation we're talking about, not to do an egregious commercial, but here's a nice little magazine that I sent to my best customers. Good to be home. And it talks about outside the box design things there. But one of the articles talks about the 5 things that buyers should be aware of and should take advantage of. And one of the things that first-time home owners, what they need to know, 5 things. And one of the things that the article goes on to talk about is the agent as a resource. We're not just here to help you buy or sell a house. We're here to help you with anything that has anything remotely to do with your real estate investment. And many times, I love it when somebody asks me a question. I'm not going to make any money from answering the question. It's not always about the money. It's about if I help people on a regular basis, when it comes time for them to need my help, that's going to be a profitable venture, they're going to call me. I had two things happen to me last year with a lady that sings in my church band. We have this little church group. It's really kind of a fun group. And both occasions, one, she needed a handy guy. Handy guys, I mean, talk about being on the endangered species. You're the hardest guys to find. So I have a whole stable of them. So when this guy falls out and prices himself out of the market, whatever, I can get. But she was looking for a handy, and she didn't have one. So I was happy that she came to me because I felt good for helping her. It's the same feeling that I get when I recommend a good restaurant. The restaurant owner may not even know that I do. But the point is, if I can help, it's a 4-letter word that I use instead of sell. I don't want to sell people anything. I want to help them find what they need as a solution. So we're very solution based. But I thought it was interesting. Sometimes I write the articles in this, sometimes I don't. But in one of the articles was written here, and it talked about the real estate being a resource. We are resources. Remember that.
Absolutely. Yep. Okay. You come to the realtors for any type of, anything that has to do with your house. So.
Yeah. And if we don't know, we certainly know enough people that could probably come up with the answer.
Yep. Absolutely.
I can remember several years ago, there was a mortgage rep in my BNI group, Business Network International. If you don't know what that is, it's the largest professional networking group in the world, in like 40 or 50 countries. And this lady was the number 1 mortgage broker in our market. She made a lot of money, and she was phenomenal. She's still in the business. She is phenomenal. And she was in my BNI group. Now, one of the reasons why typically people go into a BNI group is they're looking to build their business. They're looking to attract clients. I'm thinking, how many clients does she need to attract? She's already 1, and number 2 was so far behind them. And so I asked, I said, Diane, I said, you're terrific at what you do, but why are you doing this BNI thing? She said, because I want to be a resource to my clients. It's not just about me getting them the mortgage. It's about when they say, well, who should I use for landscaping? So she was already following my theory, but I didn't know that she was doing that. So yeah, we are resources, and good professionals in our business, they look to become resources for you. And that's what we do here at EXP. And that's where the pros go, because they all have that thing in common. They know this is what I need to know. It's not about just clerking a sale.
Yep. So the vendor list is what I call that. And I've been always adding vendors to it and removing some that, if I ever get a bad review or complaint from a client that I referred somebody, that they're off the list.
Yes. And the vendor list is what was probably the first thing that made my business take off. When I first got in the business, I bought a 3-family brownstone in downtown Brooklyn and needed to be totally renovated. I didn't know anything about this stuff. And my broker helped me get some vendors and supply to contractors, people that did pointing of bricks and things like that. And as I went through the process of going through my own renovation, I was building my list. And then what happened is when I got into the real estate business, I had my list. And people that wanted to do the same thing that I do, they said, wait, I got a guy for this. I have a guy for this. I was the king because I had the guys. Everyone's looking for the guys. We had the guys. I had the guys. So don't discount the fact that your agent should be a resource. And if they're not, maybe you're not working with the right real estate agent. I mean, I'm not trying to hurt the other guy, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Very possible. So let's talk about, since we talked about boilers, let's also talk about HVAC systems since we're on that topic. HVAC. So the newer systems, they're the way that they vent the CO that comes off of the furnace from the gas, they vent it really low to the ground. So we had a pretty good snowstorm a few years ago, and unfortunately we had some people pass away because of the how much snow we got and the amount of
49 people, I think.
Yeah, it was quite a few, and
2 in my neighborhood.
Wow. And so everybody was affected around here, and several of those deaths came from carbon monoxide not being pushed back into the house because the snow was up over those pipes, clogged them, and then it forced the CO back into the house. So if you are in a snow belt area and you get, a couple feet of snow in a particular storm, please go out and check those pipes that are next to your, usually they're next to the condensing unit, but you should be able to see from your furnace where they vent outside of your basement, and just make sure that the snow is removed from those areas.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're remotely thinking of selling your house this year, and there's a lot of people that are, one of the smartest things that you can do is when you talk to your best realtor, EXP agent out there, have them come to your house and say, could you do me a favor? Could you do a walkthrough mask and tell me what needs to get addressed? Okay. Really, really important. In the olden days, one of the big hooks used to be have an agent come out and tell you what the house was worth. There's 1,000 different websites on there that can give you an idea what your house is going to sell for. Now, how you get to that price is where the agent comes in, but you can get a number. I mean, that's not the magical part, but the subjective input that an agent can give you in terms of you need to address this, you need to address this, you need to address this is invaluable, because the old axiom that you get one chance to make your first impression.
Yeah.
And simple little thing, like you could have some peeling paint on your front door where the key goes in. It doesn't look good. So little Mickey Mouse things like that can really be a major turnoff. And you don't have to be spending sometimes tens of thousands of dollars to upgrade your house to get it market ready. Sometimes it's, it's simple things, just decluttering. But they'll also be able to tell you. Example, at my house with the that I sold back in 2004, one of the things that I didn't notice, now I do notice it, because it's a little different when you live in a house versus when you sell a house. And one of the things that came up from the home inspector that did the thing was the cable coming into my meter outside. Who looks at that? It's outside my house. I don't see. I mean, it's usually painted the same color to match the shingles. It was fraying. So I made sure that it was addressed before we had an issue, before a buyer came through. I knew the buyer was going to probably have their own inspector come through. I was fine with that. I didn't care, because I knew all the things have been checked off.
I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's what I do. First time I'm walking through a house, I'm looking for health, safety, and mechanical issues, and and also staging tips and things of that nature. But if there's anything that you can address before you put it to the market, then you have the control as a seller. You can use the company that you'd like. You have 100% control to fix that or rectify that issue. And then before, you have a home inspection or anything else, it's already addressed. But high safety mechanical issues are something that will always be, something that needs to be addressed. You can't get away from those issues.
So would you say health, safety, mechanical again? Okay. Yep. Let me burst a myth bubble out there. One of the things that I hear all the time When I teach at the Association of Realtors, I hear some of the newer agents say this, but I hear a lot of the experienced agents. They've been doing this for 25 years, and they'll talk about home inspections and why they're important, and they are. I'm not saying they're not, but they'll say, and I have to understand that the seller is responsible for any health and safety issues to make sure that they are corrected. Okay, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but that's not true. That's a myth.
No, really.
Yeah, that's not true. It's a myth. They're not required to do them. They're not required to do anything. So if you say to the the home inspector says you've got, I don't know, give me something to help.
So, well, basically, something.
Oh, the electrical box.
Yeah.
Okay. The Pacific box.
The Federal Pacific.
Federal Pacific box. We all know.
Fire hazard.
Fire hazards. Okay. They can have one of those things in there. Every inspector in Christendom is going to flag it.
Yep.
But the seller's not required to fix it. Now, if any human being buys a house and has a home inspection, they see a Pacific box, they will say to the seller, here's the deal. You have this. They may say, I may or may not want to buy your house because you have this. Or they say, I might want to buy a house if you fix it. But he's not required to fix it. He doesn't have to do anything. That's a bad business decision on his part. But it's not a legal obligation. Everyone thinks, oh, no, he has to. Legal obligation, not required.
So legal obligations are septic systems, town.
Well, it can't pass title. So there's certain requirements that way. But who gets to do them and who gets to pay for them, that's a negotiation issue. That's not a legal issue. So understand, they're not a seller. The house could be falling down. They're not required to fix anything. They could have quick scan in the basement. They're not required to fix anything.
It's good to know.
They got some serious business to make. And what a good real estate agent will do is he will prompt the seller in that situation to say, hey, listen, wake up and smell the coffee, buddy. No one's going to buy your house like this.
Yep.
They're just not. It's not because it's not, what's the term? Market ready. Got to get market ready. So, but yeah, I mean, a lot of things that people think, oh yeah, so they have to. No, they don't.
Well, and value too, right? So perceived value to a buyer. If they are buying a house and have a hot water tank, new electric line, all that stuff are in issues to address right away, then to them, their perceived value of the property is going to be less. So they're automatically going to offer you less. So if you do fix these issues that are, potential safety, mechanical, health, issues, then your house is going to be a lot more desirable, more marketable, and you will ultimately get a higher price.
Yeah. Now there's legal issues, and then there's negotiating issues, and then there's business decision issues. Here's an interesting one: a radon. Now in the United States, 4.0 picocuries is the maximum you can have
Safe level.
for safe level. 4.1 is considered not safe. 3.9. It's terrific.
Yeah, that's right.
It actually is pass fail.
Yeah.
Home inspections are not pass fail. They're sort of, well, this is what it is, and it's up to you to make a decision. The radon's pretty pure. You pass or you fail. Now, if you get a 4.2 radon reading, the seller now has a disclosure issue. So if the buyer says, well, I'll buy your house, but I want you to fix it, the seller will say, I'm not going to fix anything. I put enough money into this. They can legally perfectly do that. However, the negotiation issue or the disclosure issue becomes, well, if this guy's not going to buy the house and he wants to sell it to somebody else, he has to legally disclose that to whoever wants to buy that house. And I don't know, has been my experience. Every time they do that and they disclose, oh, by the way, I have a radon and a situation and I failed, every buyer seems to say the same exact thing, not quite in the same words, but they're saying, I don't really care, just fix it. So it goes back to their nickel. So you're either going to fix it for the first guy or you're going to fix it for the second guy.
Yep.
And that's a business decision. And I'm not going to lie to you and say that there are some people out there, sellers, that make bad business decisions. They make bad business decisions all the time. We're here to help you stop doing that. Don't make those bad decisions. Say, listen, you do it for this guy, you do it for the other guy. I don't know what to tell you. And the cost of radon remediation, like everything else, has gone up.
Yep. Yeah, it used to be around. I had clients pay as much as or as little as $900, and now up to like $1,800, $2,000.
Yeah, for a long time I was quoting $1,250 because I was sort of in the middle there, and
I stayed at that rate for a few.
first, and now they're getting around $1,800. And the silly thing about the whole thing is the parts cost about $100. I go, yeah, that's all. It's all labor and in what it does, you know. But hey, if it fails, it's failed. You got to do that. Yeah. Some of the other things. It's a new year. What are we expecting? Okay. What are we expecting?
Yeah, well, and we mentioned this the last couple of episodes.
Keep.
Yeah, and so it's it's always uncertainty after elections, right? And you had mentioned
Everything prices seem to go up.
Yep.
And interest rates seem to go down a little bit. We're going to see that. It's going to go up, and it's going to do the little wiggle there. But the prices will go up. I was looking at some math based on that conversation, and I saw a statistic in the Buffalo market. I think I remember seeing 8.75 is the projected appreciation for the year.
Okay.
Okay. Huh? Let me use easy math and call it 8.
Yeah.
Okay. In case
It's good.
Okay. Eight's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I'm selling a $300,000 house this year, that same house is now $324,000 next year. I just did the math, right? So it went up 24,000. 24 year in 1 year. Okay. Wow. I'm not going to go 2 years and 3 years, but let's look at the 1 year. So if I decide that this is not my year to buy, it's just going to cost me $24,000 more next year. Okay. Rent.
It's jumped.
That would be the equivalent of $2,500 a month, I think, at the top of my head.
Right around there.
Yeah. So I can rent for $2,500 a month, and now I'm 25,000 in the negative, or I can buy something now and go 25,000 to the positive, 24,000 to the positive. The numbers are just staggering when you really start to sit down and analyze them. So everyone says, "Well, I can't really afford a house this year." Figure it out. But however you figure it, the longer you wait, the tougher it's going to be. And, we see places like New York City where it's virtually impossible to get in as a first-time buyer, unless you're doing something illegal. I mean, it just is. I mean, how if you first-time buyer at a condo, $1 million? I mean, stop. We are so fortunate to be living in West New York, not just because you have Josh Allen and the next Super Bowl winners, but we have affordable housing here. And, I guess. It's all relative. It's relative to where we are. And people are complaining here. You know what? You don't just drive 4 or 5 hours that way and it's worse.
Yep.
So
we still have pretty low, below average housing. I think the average in the United States I've heard is in the 400,000 or 500,000.
Oh God, we're so
yeah, we're way below. So it's still affordable, and like Brendan is saying, you got to just make your move. If you
got to make your move, you got to figure it out. And you know what? It's a struggle. I mean, when you bought your first house, I mean, you sweated to probably make the payments.
Well, I just had this conversation 2 days ago. I bought my first, years and years ago in 2006, I bought a house in Santa Fe, New Mexico for $225,000.
And Santa Fe.
And at that point though, I did a 5-1 arm. I had no right buying this house. I put zero down. The market ended up in 2008 when we had the recession.
Did you go upside down?
Oh yeah. I had a short sale and ended up selling at $160,000. And, but just so the price points, right? So when I'm in my early 20s, and $225,000 is a lot of money. The mortgage was around
It's still a lot of money, but it's relative.
Yeah. But then, then moving forward a few years, I bought a house in Clarence for $150,000, which you can't touch Clarence right now for under $300,000. And that was only in 2012. So it wasn't that long ago. And then I sold that house for $220,000. And then the house that I'm in now, I bought for $225,000. So I'm right around the same amount, but it's the value of the house has gone, in either direction. So in my head, thinking of buying another investment property, I would like to be where I'm at, right? Around the 200,000 mark, because the numbers make sense. But I was talking with another friend that's an agent, and she was like, why? Why is that? And like, I think because I've only bought houses in this range. I think, for the duration of over 20 years of me owning houses. And, but I have to get out of that mindset, and that's why I'm saying this. We're just being honest that, you really got to crunch the numbers, and if it makes sense financially, then you have to make your move, because the longer I wait, the more expensive it's going to get.
It's just, it's a sad part of life. I mean, I'm getting grayer, I'm getting older, and there's nothing I can do about it. I keep getting older. You keep getting older. See, you have a birthday, you go up one, I go up one. But you know what? you deal with it. And you know, am I as good as I was when I was 40? No, but I can still do a lot of things that I wiser. But I do have the wisdom of age, you know, and there is something to be said for that. And I have even better thing, a better benefit with age. I have the benefit of perspective, because I've been through all the cycles, you know, when interest rates were 20% and interest rates were 2%. And it was a buyer's market, it was a seller's market,
Giving away money without any,
well, all these things. And I'm still here. And I'm here primarily because of certain things that I call the constants in the market. Here's a constant: supply and demand. You know, if you knew nothing about economics, you just have to know that. It's all about supply and demand. Okay. One of the things we're hearing a lot about these days is the changes in our industry. And we have seen a number of changes in our industry. I mentioned the very first book that I wrote 20 years ago, Tricks of the Trade, Real Estate Brokers Inside Advice on Buying and Selling a Home. And a lot of the stuff hasn't changed. The technology aspect has.
Yeah.
And I was listening to a commercial, local commercial here in Matar.
Yeah. That very fair.
No, you see the goofy guy?
He can be. Sometimes he could be goofy.
Yeah, he's the goofy guy, and he's very good. But he talked about AI, and he says, "I've been using AI for years." And they all looked at him and said, "What do you mean you're using it for years?" He says, "Well, yeah, I've been using attorney information, and as opposed to artificial intelligence." And we're hearing a lot about AI, and a lot of it has to do with the marketing side of our business. And it's a thing. It really is a thing. And we're in the learning curve on that. But so that's a constant with it. He's been doing that. So I've been using agent information. Okay, I'm the king of AI for 40 years doing that. But one of the things I did learn is 80% of the business never goes away. It never changes. 80% of the business. We call it the DDTs. You know, the DDTs. Death, divorce, transfer. That's 80% of our business. No matter what we do, we keep telling people they got to eat better. They're still dying. Can't stop it. And in fact, people are dying sooner. I'm very, very disturbed by the fact that in the United States, our mortality rate is we're dying younger. And we're the only industrialized country in the world, I think, where that's happening. Japan, they're going into the 100s. We're going into the 60s. Not good. So death, divorce. You know what? I don't know. Have you ever been divorced? Okay, we got losers here. Just had losers here. I've been divorced, unfortunately, more than once. Unfortunately, I keep feeding the business. It happens. And then transfer. Now, transfer can be somebody from Buffalo moving to San Diego, or from somebody from San Diego moving to Buffalo. They say, why would somebody from San Diego? Because they can afford a house here. They can't afford a house there. When we hear about people that want to transfer from here to San Diego, we bless them, because that's a tough switch.
Yeah.
San Diego to here, good. There to San Diego. The weather is great, but it's very hard because the dollars here are fewer than the dollars there. So we always want to know where you go. But we can help people with that. And then there's the other 20% of the business, which is the extra thing that we can go after. Most of that in the Buffalo market is what we call takeaway. It's pretty much a constant here in the Buffalo market. It's 10 or 11,000 houses get sold each year through the system. The only thing that changes is who gets to do it. So let's use easy math. Let's say 10,000 houses. All right, you're going to sell 5,000 one year. I'm going to sell 5,000 the next year, okay, or the same year. So it's 10,000. Well, I didn't have a good year last year. I only sold 4,000. You got to sell 6,000. So that's how it works. And in the Buffalo market, one thing that makes this a little bit aggravating is the fact that we don't have a lot of new construction. We have new construction, but we're not building an affordable house.
Yeah.
Or that doesn't help. So those are some of the things that we're dealing with in our market and across the United States. Is it a good time to buy? Not good time to buy? You know what? As far as I'm concerned, it's always a good time to buy. 2 times to plant a tree today and 20 years ago. 2 times to buy a house today and 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
Final thoughts?
Yeah. No. Thank you for everyone for tuning in. We're excited about carrying this podcast into 2025. We're excited to bring you a bunch of information and hopefully help you along the way of your journey.
And that's the story. This is the real story brought to you by Brendan Cunningham, the real estate doctor, and Matt Paul, because he does it all. Thanks for tuning in.
Tune in. Take care.